So I have an idea of who can react to. He's one of the earliest people I interviewed on my channel, and he had taken some time off and just came back. So he's got a new video, and I have not watched it yet. So let's take a look at his new vid. This is Danesh. I'm not sure I'm not sure how long we'll watch it. We'll see what this video is like. But let's take a look at Danesh here. Really nice guy, by the way. Um, oh, hey, Conrad. How you doing? Yeah, I probably will. I probably will. Zoe's going on trial in May, I think. And
You ever thought about
everybody's gonna kind of go there for court support. I haven't committed to that yet, Conrad, but don't be surprised to see me there because that will be the thing that's going on.
going vegan, but then got overwhelmed when you started thinking more about it? Well, I did too at first, but 1,802 days later, I'm now in the best shape of my life. I'm eating
Oh, wait,
amazing food, and it's
got
easily
it
been
wrong.
the best decision I've ever made. Over the years, I've learned incredibly valuable lessons on my vegan adventure. So here's 40 lessons that make going plant-based a piece of vegan cake. Lesson one, if you've been vegan for any amount of time, you know the most common question you get asked is, where do you get your protein from? Which makes sense since, especially today, we've been conditioned to think that.
Now, one thing I will say, like Danish, like, he's talking about plant-based. So this is more like an animal rights channel. Like we're kind of less concerned on like, plant-based, get your recipes, all that stuff, but they're hand in hand, we're working together on this stuff. And Danish has a very strong animal rights message in his content. I think he'll probably get into some of that. I don't think he's gonna sugarcoat, but we'll see.
Protein means meat. Nowadays, if you go into any
He makes
restaurant
very
and they have an option
accessible
to add a
videos,
protein,
what I'm saying.
9 out of 10 times, all the options are going to be meat. But the good news is you can get protein from plant foods as well. And as it turns out, all plant foods have protein to varying degrees. So lesson one is
I'm
all
also super jealous of how professional his setup looks. Like that's good. I need to
plant foods
I
have
gotta up my
some
game, Danish,
protein.
because of
Lesson
you.
two. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, but do plants have enough protein? And that was a big concern for me too, especially since I was an athlete back in college and I've always loved working out and going to the gym. But after doing some research, I realized that getting all the protein I needed on a plant based diet to maximize gains and feel my best was easy. And now I'm in the best shape of my life. Most of the time, I don't even think about protein anymore.
Yeah, you
Beans,
don't have
chickpeas,
to
and
think
lentils,
about it
which
at
by the
all.
way are called legumes
Unless you're
and
like
are going to be used a
trying
lot,
to
are all great
build
sources of
gains,
protein, to
then
name a
yeah,
few.
maybe you're
So
like,
lesson two
okay,
is you can
make sure I
easily
get
get all the
strong
protein to build
protein in every
muscle on
meal.
a plant-based diet. Lesson three. I remember when I was a kid buying protein powder for the first time, my friends told me, all right, whatever you do, just don't buy soy, get whey. Soy gives you boobs. So for years, I avoided anything soy related. But
Jesus.
then I started to look
I
into the
never
research
heard
around
that,
soy and found that not
but
only was that a myth, but soy
now
foods
I
have
do. Now I
tons
hear
of
that.
benefits. They're full of high quality protein, they're
Yep.
rich in nutrients, including B vitamins, fiber, potassium, magnesium, and you can enjoy soy in tons of its different forms, including tofu, soy milk, edamame, or tempeh, to name a few. So, lesson three is don't be afraid of soy. Lesson four. I used to be one of those guys that would look at the options in a restaurant and never look twice at the tofu option. After all, it's bland, gross, and everyone dunks on it. But since going vegan, I've realized there are so many ways to eat tofu and so many ways to flavor it to make it taste amazing.
Tofu is whatever you do with it. Tofu will take the flavor of anything you put on it, and you can make it texture to be really tough, like to mimic the kind of texture of meat, or it can be very almost soup-like that it can be that much of like a gel. And I mean, I know I'm speaking to the choir right now, but I mean, tofu, I probably thought this way too before going vegan.
I've had tofu scrambles, fried
Yeah.
tofu, barbecue tofu, tofu and sauces, the list goes on. So, lesson four is tofu is versatile and can taste amazing. Lesson five. I loved using dairy to get a huge boost in protein, and I was really disappointed to see that almond milk has almost no protein. Well, then I realized that a cup of soy milk has 8 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And so since then, it's been my go to milk for oatmeal, coffee, and smoothie bowls. Not only that, but it uses 95% less water than cow's milk, so it's climate friendly as well. So lesson 5 is soy milk is the best milk alternative.
Yeah, I actually agree with him on soy milk being the best. I'll also throw in pea protein, like pea milk. Like it's harder to find, but yeah, sounds funny to say pea milk, but milk made from peas obviously is pretty high in protein as well, I think, and also hemp milk. There's just all kinds of different plant-based milks.
Alternative. Lesson 6. Okay, so I lied a bit. There's one milk alternative out there that's even better than soy
Oh,
milk. It even has a little bit more protein than soy milk. It's just as creamy, maybe a little bit more delicious, and that's pea milk.
Brother, ugh.
Like yellow peas. You
you
nasty.
and I,
Get
you
your
and
mind
I,
out of the gutter.
Danish.
The downside is that it is hard to find, but whenever they offer it at a coffee shop,
Brother,
you know that's what I'm getting. So lesson 6 is pea milk
I
is
love
the
that.
best
I
milk
mean,
alternative. Lesson 7. Since I've been vegan, I found myself putting more of an emphasis on eating whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, and just a lot more whole plant foods in general. It inspired me to cook more at home and reach more for high fiber, whole plant foods as part of my everyday
yeah, pea
staples.
milk,
Even when I
though,
go out to eat, I
I'm
find
gonna
myself
be
eating more
real right
beans,
now.
veggies, and fruits.
I can only really get the pea milk when it's on sale because, for one, I actually don't drink much plant-based milk because I just don't need it. But Carrie, settle down now, okay? But yeah, it does sound pornographic, pea milk. um, yeah, Felix, soy milk, your first choice. Yeah, I go with soy. Like if I'm making smoothies, unless like the pea milk's on sale or the hemp milk or something, you know, it's going to be soy milk. And if I'm going flavor, oat milk, almond milk, those are good.
As a result, I personally have found it way easier to maintain healthy eating habits since going vegan. So, lesson 7 is veganism makes it easy to eat healthy. Lesson 8. Now,
I
I
wish
went
it
vegan
was
during the
easier
pandemic,
though.
so it was an
I'm
awesome
junk food.
opportunity to learn how to do it. And I thought, hey, this isn't so hard. Then we got out of quarantine.
You know what my downfall is right now? It's those Reese's plant-based cups. Those are dangerous. Yeah. Luckily, they only sell them in a few places, but
Friends started wanting to hang, and damn, did things start getting more challenging. So I found that personally, the hardest part about being vegan is not the food, but it's the social situation. So there's a couple of solutions. You can eat in advance. You can try to make sure you go to a vegan restaurant or one with vegan options, or you can work with the waiter to see if they can make something special for you. So lesson 8 is one of the hardest parts about being vegan is not the food, but it's the social situations. So plan accordingly. Lesson 9. When I first went vegan, I said I was going to make exceptions when I traveled.
I haven't
because
had that much
I
trouble,
didn't want to miss out
but
on all the incredible.
I'm willing to ditch friends because of this. So not everybody is willing to do that, but yeah, I've ended friendships, relationships over this stuff.
Traditional food that was out there. I mean, come on. Eating
Carrie,
is one of the best
no
parts about
coffee?
traveling. Well, during my
There's your mistake, Carrie. You wanted to get powered up. If you had just had some coffee that morning, you wouldn't even had to, eat all that food the day before because the coffee would have done it for you.
nearly 5 years of being vegan, I've made it a
I
challenge
respect
for
that though.
myself
I
to
respect your
find vegan
choice.
versions of traditional foods wherever I go. And I've been consistently amazed at what I find. Sometimes the traditional dishes are naturally vegan, anyways, and sometimes they've been veganized by swapping in ingredients. So, safe to say, eating has still been one of the best parts about traveling, vegan or not. And
Yeah.
I've got a handy tip so that y'all can have the same success while traveling.
Happy
and that's
cow.
coming up later. So lesson
It's
9
gonna be
is
Happy
you
Cow.
can find amazing.
Let me tell. I'm going to tell you a story. I think I talked about this on my channel, but I've traveled around. I specifically remember my trip to Korea was unbelievable because of partly because of using Happy Cow to travel around and just find all these like hole in the wall vegan restaurants in Seoul. It was amazing. Like because I didn't have a vehicle. I was just walking around the city, walking all over that city. And because of Happy Cow, you could find all these little places. And so I was down in these like little nooks and crannies of Seoul, like places you would never see. And that was such an adventure. And it felt good doing it. And Great vegan food in Seoul, by the way.
Vegan food, even when you're traveling, and it can make traveling even more exciting.
Yeah, there's
Lesson
no
10.
excuse. That
So
whole
when
like
I first went vegan,
I'm in
I was
France
really
and I
afraid to
can't
lose
find
out on my favorite food, and that's ice cream. I'm an ice cream fiend.
cosmic
I've done some
skeptic.
things I'm not proud of for ice cream. And as a certified ice cream fiend, I'm telling you, I've had some of the best ice cream since going vegan. And not just that, I found vegan versions of so many foods I used to love, like sushi, tacos, burgers. I've even had a vegan steak. That was really an iconic
Yeah.
moment for me to feel like veganism isn't limiting. So, lesson 10 is you can still eat most of the food you've had before, and it's gotten so good nowadays that you can even find realistic steak. Lesson 11.
This is a good video. Like it's long and he's hitting all these points.
So, having been
Really
vegan for
well
this
put
long, I've
together.
heard my
He's such a
fair
good
share of
editor.
stories about people going vegan and getting really sick and then having to stop, but they hadn't seen this video yet, had they? But on a serious note,
True.
the reality is you can get all the nutrients you need while following a plant-based diet. You just have to think of the food groups a bit differently, like legumes, whole grains, veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds. And for me, this could mean having a bowl of oatmeal with fresh.
It's interesting, like I just want to pause. Like it's interesting the choice to make a video that's like kind of an explainer like this. Because obviously these things exist, but this is like a really nicely well-made one. But it just makes me it's interesting to think about the choices that we make for what is going to be the good content
fruit in the morning, and then making myself
that's
a
going to
peanut
break
sweet
through and be
potato stew with
helpful.
chickpeas for lunch. And as long as you're getting a variety of all those different food groups, you'll be fine. Now, you might be thinking, no supplements? Well, that's the next point. So, lesson 11 is you can get all the nutrients you need on a plant based diet. Lesson 12. What about supplements? The reality is there's only one nutrient I always see as a must supplement, and that's B12, which is super easy to do. However, plant based doctors tend to recommend supplementing vitamin D as well as a plant based omega 3 from algae. So that's what I tend to do. And let's be real, this isn't unique to eating vegan.
I've honestly not heard that many people recommend the algae omega. I have done them in the past. Like you can get an algae supplement which gets your omegas. But I haven't heard a ton of doctors say that that's entirely necessary. I've heard some like Dr. Clapper, I believe, say, I kind of lean towards it. I recommend it. I'm not sure though. I don't, what do y'all think? Because I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if they're
The
necessary.
majority of my non vegan friends also consume different types of vitamins and supplements. So, lesson 12 is that B12 is the most important nutrient you should supplement, but you should also consider supplementing vitamin D and algae based omega 3.
Another couple of pitfalls that can happen is that, for instance, we don't think of iodine that much. And if you eat food with iodized salt, you'll get your iodine. But there are some other nutrients to think about. One of the things that when I went vegan, someone gave me a book. This really nice couple gave me a book that was like here to avoid all the pitfalls of changing your diet, because any diet you're going to have some change. So some things to consider, paying attention to, are iodine, also zinc, especially if you're a men. Men lose zinc more, women lose iron more, and you know why. But so if you're a woman, maybe thinking about iron. If you're a man, thinking about zinc, thinking about iodine, don't sleep on it. And yeah, B12 is an obvious one, but D is probably correct. And the algae, omega 3, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's harming you. I could be right. I'm not a doctor. Okay. I have no idea. Felix takes B12, vitamin D, algae, omega 3, just to be on the safe side. Used to go out of your way to put ground flaxseed on many things, but got out of the habit. Same. I did that too. I would make smoothies and do ground flax, ground chia seeds. When I'm on like a health kick, I'll be throwing all that stuff into a smoothie: hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax, soy milk, broccoli sprouts, amla powder, turmeric. I will do it big. Another thing that I'm a kind of a big believer in these days is that lion's mane mushroom, because I've seen that For instance, Mike the Vegan did a pretty cool video about lion's mane and some of the emerging research on it, which is not definitive, but it has some promising things. So taking lion's mane
Lesson
mushroom
13. One of the biggest mistakes I see when people try to eat a
for
plant-based
brain health.
diet is that they just remove the meat without adding anything else. Huge mistake. And that's how you get sick. And
Yeah.
the best replacement out there for meat are legumes. So like I said, those are your beans, lentils, and chickpeas, which come with a ton of protein, iron, and fiber. Throw them on pastas and salads and
Yeah.
curries,
There's a
maybe even some
research that
purees
like the
like
more
hummus. The
beans you
options
eat, the
are
better
endless. So lesson
your health
13 is
outcomes.
legumes are the best replacement for meat.
Yes.
Lesson 14. Speaking of fiber,
Lentils,
this is a
so
nutrient
good.
that people in the US are
So good
really
for you.
missing out on. There's a huge craze for protein in the US and the world, but the reality is people are getting more than enough. Rather, we should be focusing on getting fiber, which is incredible for your gut. And the true fiber heavy hitters are not fruits and vegetables, but rather whole grains and legumes. So sometimes it's as simple as swapping out regular pasta for whole wheat pasta or even a legume pasta. So lesson 14 is you should be focusing on getting lots of fiber into your diet and your gut will thank you for it. Lesson 15. So yeah, speaking of whole grains.
By the way, if you're like brand new vegan and you go to fiber heavy, like you may feel the bloating sensation, but it goes away very quickly. So yeah, but I'm not one of those people that recommends baby steps. Do it. Just fucking do it. And if you feel like you have a stomach ache for a day, who cares?
These are so underrated. They're one of the unsung heroes of nutrition, and we barely touch these in the US.
Yeah,
They're
lion's
packed
mane.
with fiber, micronutrients, antioxidants, and pretty good protein too. These are your oats, brown rice, whole wheat, quinoa, but every region has their own. In Mexico, they eat a lot of amaranth. In Italy, they eat a ton.
Wayne was anti-oat. Wayne was telling me, like, when I was like putting oats in my smoothie, he was like, you shouldn't do oats because they have a high glycemic index or something like that. He's real on that glycemic stuff. I don't know anything about it. But anyway, Wayne is I'm talking about Wayne Shung, and he's in incredible shape. But so I wouldn't ignore anything he says, but I think oats are good for you, Wayne.
Pharaoh. In the Middle East, there's a lot of bulgur and farike. As a general rule, if you're ever eating white rice, try swapping it out for a whole grain. So lesson 15 is that whole grains are massively underrated and we should be eating more of them. Lesson 16. An underrated crime of the dairy industry is that they've made us think that you can't get anything creamy without dairy. And that was hard for me to stomach because creamy foods were my favorite. Remember how I was talking about ice cream? So when I started looking online for recipes for creamy vegan foods like Alfredos or risottos, I started seeing all the different plant foods people would use to add creaminess to their food.
I had the best vegan cheesecake the other day. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know who made it, but it was at a restaurant that I go to, and
Foods,
damn,
tahini,
that was good.
plant-based milks, coconut creams,
And the one
vegan
at the
cream, blend.
store, the Dare vegan, or sorry, Daya, no, Daya, the Daya vegan cheesecakes are really good. Sorry, there's a company also called Dairy or Dare, and they're a vegan cheesemaker, and they might have made the cheesecake. Check them out. It's like Dare with umlauts over the E, and they're an amazing, amazing vegan cheesemaker, and I think they're sold in Whole Foods nationwide.
Blended almonds, blended cashews. They would even use silken tofu. There's so many options.
But they're a
And they've
local
all got
company
different
here.
properties that add different taste and nutrition to what you're eating. In a weird way, I'd argue eating only dairy is the limiting option. So lesson 16 is that there are lots of ways to add cream to dishes that aren't dairy. Lesson 17. Ever walked into a restaurant, asked for the vegan
You're giving us a lot of lessons here, Danesh.
option, and been told, we have salad? It's like, okay, first of all, how dare you? Jokes aside, vegan food isn't just salads. I actually never really liked salads and still don't eat them very often. So lesson 17 is vegan food is more than just salads. Lesson 18. When people say plants, they don't mean just vegetables. They mean oats, cashews, avocados, dark chocolate, butter beans. So a lot more goes into it. So lesson 18 is vegan food is not all vegetables.
Right.
Lesson 19. As a matter of
Everything.
fact,
It's
I used to be
every
one
kind
of
of
those meat,
food.
rice, and veggie guys. So when I would meal prep for the week, I'd always follow that
Except beef
formula.
and
To be honest,
dairy,
before going vegan, I didn't
obviously.
have a lot of variety in my diet, which is, a bit weird when you think about it. But now I eat so many more foods that I
Yep.
either barely ate or didn't eat at all before. So
Yeah.
dates, peanut butter, chickpeas, flax seeds, berries,
It's
mango,
one of the weird things that happens when you go vegan is you would think you're cutting food out of your life, and obviously you're limiting, you don't want meat and dairy, but by doing that, you've opened up a whole new range of foods that you get into and that you would never have eaten before, because you were, on that everything's going to be gross kick.
waffle, tahini, mushrooms, different types of seeds, curries, and tofu. So lesson 19 is going vegan has expanded the different types of food I eat daily.
Yep.
Lesson 20. So this lesson is yes, you can still eat chocolate. The main ingredient is cacao, after all, which comes from plants.
Yeah,
Dark chocolate is
chocolate.
almost always vegan, and every day you can find more milk chocolate made with plant milks. So lesson 20 is you can still eat chocolate. Lesson 21. So I lived in Milan for a few months, and people told me I was going to really struggle in Italy since I wasn't going to be able to eat pasta. Luckily for me, the pasta I found in Italy was almost always vegan. Even cooler, they had tons of gluten-free options there, made from peas, lentils, buckwheat, you name it. And a lot of people seem to think that pasta is made with egg, but I found pasta with egg to be the exception. I'd go as far to
Same,
say that I
Felix.
eat way more
Same.
pasta and different varieties of it ever since going vegan. So
Just like
lesson
he's saying.
21 is pasta is vegan. Usually. Lesson 22. You might be thinking that going vegan is complicated. You got to carefully plan all your meals. And that's just not the kind of time you have. Damn. But what I found is that in
I love
general,
his
as long as
style
you're
on
eating a
those
wide
videos.
variety of whole plant based
It's
foods
not
from
the kind of
all
time
the
you
food
have.
groups, you'll be
Damn.
fine. So, lesson 22 is as long as you eat a wide variety of whole plant based foods most of the time, you should be fine. Lesson 23. But isn't a vegan diet full of processed food?
So the other thing is like, yeah, I mean, also when you get like you're gonna get sick sometimes. Like, remember when you were a meat eater, you got sick sometimes. It's not always because you're vegan, or that you were eating meat. So a lot of these people will just like rush to blame their diet. But if you have to adjust your diet a little bit, adjust your diet a little bit. You can still make it vegan.
Well, the reality is there are more and more options every day that fall under that category, but it doesn't have to be all whole foods or all processed foods. The way that I've made it work for me is I find myself eating about 80% whole foods and then I'll delete a vegan cheeseburger. So, lesson 23 is you can have the processed food every now and then. It's okay, everything in moderation. Lesson 24.
Hang on. Let me
One dead giveaway.
slow down. Danish. Calm down. I got to show them something. Okay. If y'all aren't following vox.com, they're the news source that's doing the most reporting about animal agriculture, plant-based. Let me show y'all this story that just came out. Is this popping up? Yeah, there we go. Okay. We'll get back to you, Danish. Don't just be chill. It's going to be fine. All right. This is Marina Bolotnikova, she is the rock star, I would say, of reporting on this stuff. So you're being lied to about ultra processed foods. Go read this article if you haven't read it. It's so great. Blowing the lid off this nonsense about processed food, which, by the way, meat is a processed food typically. I mean, that has to be. So anyway, all right, I digress, but let's get back to Danish. And yeah, follow Marina Bolotnikova on social media and read her stories because they're great. And they have a number of reporters who are working on that stuff over there at Vox. Not Fox, okay? Do not start consuming Fox News, okay? I mean Vox with a V. All right, let's get back to Danish here.
That someone is vegan or has dabbled is if they know what nutritional yeast is. Look, I had never even heard of this stuff before going vegan, but it's this secret ingredient that can level up a lot of vegan dishes. Essentially, it's a savory powder that has a subtle cheesy flavor and it's full of protein and B vitamins. You can throw that on popcorn, salads, potatoes, or add it to sauces. So, lesson 24 is nutritional yeast is a hack that can make your food more cheesy and it packs a punch of protein too. Lesson 25. Have y'all ever heard of the blue zones? They're known for being the
If
areas.
I game later, would anybody be interested in watching it? I just want to make sure, like, when I'm doing these things, like, they have, like, people are getting something from them. I have the game Alien Isolation that I'm working through. It's such a good game, but it's so hard. But anyway, I might stream that later. There's also a horror game that Carrie was in the chat for, and then my stream broke. But anyway, that seemed like that was going to be a good game. I'd probably start it over. And if anybody has recommendations, and by the way, if any of y'all have recommendations of videos you want me to react to, let me know. Let's see. Well, let's continue. We're getting some good lessons here from Danish. Look, Danish has been vegan for 1,802 days. He's counting the days.
In the world where people consistently live the longest out of anywhere. A lot of them live up to 100.
All right, as long as you're
Something
there,
I found
Carrie.
out during the course of being vegan is there's one food in particular.
What game should we
that's linked
do?
to
What
living
kind of
a
game
really
do you
long
want to
time.
see
And in the
tonight?
blue zones, they eat a lot
Or
of this
today
food.
for
Not only
you, I
that,
guess.
but this food is one of the cheapest out there. It's tasty, it's satisfying, and you can find them in every supermarket. What is this mysterious food? Well, it's legumes, which, like I said before, beans, lentils, chickpeas, split peas. So eat them canned, from dried, in your hummus. Just make sure to get these in. So lesson 25 is legumes are some of the healthiest foods you can
Hey,
eat.
that's
Lesson
nice.
26.
Hang
One
on.
way to add legumes to any diet
Calm
is
down,
with
Dinesh. I need to feature this comment. That was nice. I think she meant mom. Usually I'm mom and have to pay attention, so I don't mind. This is easy and your voice is nice. Thank you, Carrie. That's so nice. Let me get Danish back on there. Where's my comment? Did it go away? Oh, yeah, we were all talking about soy milk. There we go. All right.
out for legume pastas.
If
Legume
I,
pastas
by
like
the way, if I
chickpea pasta,
game
lentil
though, I'm gonna
pasta
have to end this
become more and
stream
more
and
commonplace and make it really easy
mod for
to
a
up
lot
your
of
plant
vegan
protein and
channels.
legume intake.
I'll
So
make you
lesson
my
26
mod if
is
you
that
want to do
legume
that.
pastas are an easy way to get
Actually,
more
no,
legumes into
you
your
need
diet.
you need
Lesson
to just be
27.
able to. Don't
Have you
worry,
ever been
there's
confused
nobody
by the
in my
whole
channel. I
concept
don't
of
need a
eating
mod.
fat? Is it good for you? Is it not? Well, here's the thing.
And
Fats
they
are an
control me.
essential
I kind of
nutrient, and one of
invite
the
it.
key
Where are
reasons
the
that we
troll?
need
They were
fat
here in the
is because
beginning.
many nutrients are fat soluble. That means that you need fat in the meal to absorb those nutrients.
Y'all
So make
missed
sure you're
it. If you
always
just
including a fat
joined,
source in your
we
meal.
had a couple of good trolls fighting us. And that was like, I've made it. Like I feel like that's the first time I've had to deal with it. And I was like, it was a moment of, like I felt like I had arrived.
Because including fats, especially healthy ones, can be the difference of whether or not your meal is a
Yeah, I
true
don't need one.
powerhouse. So lesson 27 is you should
The day
always
that I
include
need a
fat
mod,
source in your
Dennis,
meal.
is
Lesson 28. Let's
a
explore some delicious ways
good.
to incorporate these fats into your diet. Some of the best
It'll be a
sources
good
of plant-based
day
fats are going to be
when
seeds,
my
nuts,
channel is big
soy
enough
in
to
the
need
form of
that.
tofu or soy milk, and avocados. So lesson 28 is seeds, nuts,
Yeah.
soy, and tofu are all great whole fat sources.
Oh,
Lesson
you can
29.
stay in
All right,
peace?
so
Does
this is a
that
bit
mean you're
random,
going to be
admittedly,
trolling Dennis?
but I had to include it. You can make some mean brownies out of black beans. Just saying.
It's okay if you do.
So lesson 29, you can make brownies.
Sorry, I have not
out
been
of
paying
black
attention
beans.
to our
Lesson
guy
30.
here.
Have you ever heard someone say, I don't like vegan food? I always thought that was weird because I don't think people realize what they're saying when they say that. They don't like peanut butter jelly sandwiches, guacamole, hummus, French fries, mango sticky rice, falafel, bean burritos, candied sweet potatoes, because all those foods are usually, for the most part,
You boot Dennis?
completely vegan. There are a lot of vegan foods out there that you already love. So lesson 30 is a lot of the food you already enjoy is vegan. Lesson 31.
What does he
Do you ever
do?
find yourself throwing out
Dennis,
wilted spinach or moldy
are you
berries?
a troublemaker, Dennis? Really? Are y'all playing around?
You
Why
wasted a
does
lot
he-
of money on produce that always seems to go
Why
bad
does
before you
Dennis
eat it.
get the boot?
So I found that buying them frozen helps a ton with having veggies and fruits ready to go at all
Dennis,
times. And they tend to have even
you
more
pay
of the
for
nutrients
animal
than their fresh
abuse?
counterparts, and they're usually cheaper. Throw them in smoothies, or you can also just throw them in while you're
Dennis.
cooking, and you'll forget they were even frozen in the first
Can you
place.
blame her?
So lesson 31 is buying frozen fruits and veggies is an easy way to make life easier. You and your wallet will thank you. Lesson 32, something I hear a lot is that it takes more time to cook vegan. But
I'm
there's
sorry,
a few tricks
Dennis.
that you
I'm
can
on
do to
Carrie's
make it
side.
faster than cooking with meat. For example, if you're used to putting chicken on your salad, you have to spend time heating up the pan and then cooking the chicken. On the other hand, you
But
can
you're
just dump a
watching the
can of chickpeas
content,
on it
right,
and
Dennis?
you're good to
Like,
go. So don't be afraid of
you
canned
must
beans.
be
They're extremely
vegan
convenient,
curious at
absurdly cheap,
least.
packed with key nutrients, and might help you live to 100. So lesson 32 is don't be afraid of canned beans. Lesson 33. I've had friends who have told me they want to go vegan, but they already have some food allergies that makes them feel like they've already got too much to worry about already. But what I found is that vegan restaurants and products tend to be much more knowledgeable and conscious about allergies. I've had a friend explain to me that once he was looking for a place with a separate kitchen for gluten-free options, and the only place that was able to accommodate that request for him was a vegan restaurant. So lesson 33 is you can do vegan even if you're gluten-free or have other
You're welcome
allergies.
here,
And
Dennis.
sometimes vegan places are
I hope we
actually the
can work
best
on that
options. Lesson
on
34.
about
I
you
used to think
though.
that eating vegan would be expensive. Have you seen the price
Do
of
you ever
Beyond
want
Meat?
to like if you ever want to have a discussion about it, I'd be down. Respectful. I'll be respectful.
And all those other substitutes. But after my first couple of weeks of being vegan, I noticed something that surprised me. My grocery bill was coming out to be 30 to 40% cheaper than it was before I went vegan,
If
even though I
that's what
was
you
buying
do,
stuff like
yeah.
Beyond Meat. How did this happen? Well, I also started buying a lot more potatoes, grains, legumes, veggies, all of the stuff that tends to be the cheapest in the supermarket, which also tends to be some of the healthiest stuff in there. And as I thought about it more,
Yeah, I agree. I'm not
fish,
kind of
meat,
in the mood for
cheese,
that right now,
that was
but
always the most
yeah,
expensive part
we'll
of
do
my
it.
grocery list. So if you stick to the vegan staples, not only will you be
So I
healthier,
think we'll
you'll be
wrap
saving
here
money. So
fairly
lesson
soon, and then
34
I'll
is
go
it's
switch over to
actually
gaming,
way
I guess.
cheaper to eat vegan if you focus on the basics. Lesson 35.
Hogwarts
Dead giveaway
Legacy,
that someone
nice.
isn't vegan, they say almond milk is their favorite plant milk. What is this, 2010? It's so watery, and there are so many better alternatives out there to discover. So lesson 35 is almond milk is the worst vegan milk. Lesson 36. When I was living in
What do y'all think? Is almond milk the worst vegan milk? I know this is controversial territory. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. I agree with Danesh right now because, like he mentioned, there's not a ton of nutrition to it. It's kind of a water hard on the water systems, and by the way, it's like half as much water as dairy. Okay, so don't go there. But like amongst the plant milks, it's like one of the harder on water. Let's continue.
LA, I invited this Argentinian girl I had met out to dinner. She wasn't vegan, but she'd never tried vegan dining before, and I wanted to impress her, so I took her to this upscale place. As I browsed the menu, I realized the main courses were cauliflower steak, pan-fried broccoli, and grilled portobello mushrooms. Yeah, they were tasty,
Cashew. I
but
don't
an
do
hour later we
cashew
were
that
both
much.
hungry again. Not to mention, after a bit of wine, let's just say the next morning, my memory of the evening was
a bit hazy.
Here's the lesson.
Why don't you
Broccoli,
drink the vegan
eggplant,
milks,
cauliflower,
Dennis?
these are not main courses. They're like
What's
100
stopping you?
calories. They're great sides, but not enough to replace meat in a meal. So when you're eating, make sure there's a substantial protein source like beans, chickpeas, or tofu on your plate. Do not let them serve you a stock of broccoli and call it a meal. So lesson 36 is broccoli and cauliflower, eggplant and mushrooms are not meat replacements. Do not let someone serve you a cauliflower as a main course. Lesson 37. A common concern I hear from people about vegan diets is that plant proteins are incomplete compared to
that. Danish just spoke some truth right there. Stop with the cauliflower meals, people. You go into a nice vegan restaurant, like an upscale one, and they bring you out some damn cauliflower and expect me to pay like $30. Stop that. Stop that shit. I know how much a cauliflower costs.
Animal proteins. And they say this because proteins are made up of these building blocks called amino
Yeah,
acids.
pretty much me
and
too,
some plant
Dennis.
proteins are high in some amino
I'm
acids,
not really on
but
milk
lower in
much.
others. The thing is, think of plant proteins like a puzzle. Each food is a piece with different amino acids.
Vegan
Alone,
chocolate
they might
by
seem
Swiss
incomplete, but
Miss with
together,
some Dandy's
form the
marshmallows.
whole
Yeah,
picture.
no,
The
I
truth
haven't.
is, as long as you're eating a
I
variety of
haven't
plant
tried
foods
that.
throughout the day, those amino acids balance out. I promise you. And I'm
Man,
never worried about this. And if
that
you're still
sounds
concerned,
perfect
a
for right
scoop of
now. It's
vegan protein
super
powder will
cold
do the trick. So
outside.
lesson 37 is
Christmas
don't
Eve.
have to worry about getting
I
enough
do have
protein
some
or
hot
amino
chocolate
acids
that's
as long
vegan
as you're
though,
eating a variety of plant foods. Lesson 38.
but it's not
Growing up, I remember the
amazing.
menu was
It's all right.
always
It's good.
chicken, beef, or pork. But as a vegan, you need a new go-to protein source. Enter the new big three: chickpeas,
TVP.
lentils, and beans.
Well,
Think of them
TVP
as
is
your
like the
vegan protein
highest,
superheroes.
I
With just
think,
these three,
among
you can
like
whip
all
up
foods.
soups, curries, buddha bowls. You can even replace ground beef with lentils or
I
a
feel like you kind
bolognese
of
or a shepherd's
went over
pie.
this
And of
point.
course, there are other protein sources out there like tofu, but just
Did
these
we
three
back up?
can take you very far. So lesson 38 is think of chickpeas, lentils, and beans as your
I
new
think he's
chicken,
repeating
beef, and
himself a
pork.
little
I
bit.
try to use these as my main protein sources now. Lesson 39. Since I wasn't eating fish anymore, there was a big nutrient of concern that I was missing: omega-3. Everyone knows
Oh,
this
see,
nutrient
yeah,
as the
he's kind
fuel
of
for the
going
brain.
over what
Well,
he
there are
did with
actually great
supplements, but let's
plant
hear it.
sources of omega-3 that are also full of fiber, and they can help lower your cholesterol. These are chia seeds and flax seeds. I started to include these in my breakfast because it's easy to throw them into smoothies or oatmeal, for example. So lesson 39 is try to eat chia or flax seeds every day, and ground flax seeds are easier to
Uh,
digest than whole. Lesson 40. Now, you might be
Well,
watching this video.
that would be very healthy if you ate chia and flax, but I feel like you don't need to do that. But yeah, they're very good for you if you can do it every day. That's awesome. But I wouldn't like give people the impression that they need to be eating like sometimes like chia and flax seeds, like unless you're in like if you find a co-op or Whole Foods or something. I don't know. Sometimes they're kind of like the more obscure item in the grocery store. But yeah, I would say that those are definitely good things to eat, but you don't have to. You don't have to.
Video, and you're not sure if you can trust this random guy on the internet for nutrition advice. And you know what?
Yeah,
That's
can we
fair. But
trust
what if there
you?
was a way to
Danish, can we
confirm what
trust
this guy
you?
is saying about the amino acids and getting all the
Who is this guy, Danish? I think we can trust him. We had a cool conversation, me and him.
nutrients you need?
Check
Well, they
that out,
actually
by the way, because we talked about, I think, some things that he probably hasn't shared in a lot of interviews. We kind of got personal, talked about his life in the corporate world. It was cool. I like that conversation. So check out that conversation between Danish and I on my channel.
is. It's called Chronometer, and it's like having a personal nutritionist in your pocket. You just put in your foods, and it tells you how you're doing when it comes to hitting micronutrients and amino acid breakdowns. So this is what I was telling y'all about the amino acids. I've never ever worried about them. You'd even be surprised how little variety you can eat and still hit all your amino acid targets. So lesson 40 is using an app like Chronometer is a game changer. In the
I'll be
first 100
honest,
days.
when I use Chronometer, like I screwed it up somehow. Like I don't know. I must be really stupid, but it wasn't somehow it got entered wrong. So anyway, I've never used Chronometer effectively.
To see where your nutrients come from. You don't even have to be exact, but it's good to have some sort of
Somehow it
idea.
got
Lesson
messed up. It wasn't
41.
my
Yes,
fault, I
I'm throwing
swear.
in one bonus lesson, and trust me, this might be the
Bonus.
most powerful lesson of them all. Imagine you had an app that served as a vegan treasure map, and it showed you every vegan restaurant or restaurant with vegan options around
Happy
you. And
Cow
it worked around the world.
incoming.
Well, we have that app, and it's called Happy Cow. I've used this thing in Bumblefuck
Yes.
nowhere, and I
Bumblefuck
swear to God,
nowhere.
y'all, the most random places will have 100% vegan restaurants. It's even more reliable than Google Maps since it's made with vegans in mind. You might have to pay for it on iOS, so that's a win for Android.
You pay like $2 for like a one-time fee, I think, for iOS to get Happy Cow, but it's so worth it. It's a one-time thing. Throw them a couple bucks for the great service they did. Anyway, I mean, you don't have to do this, but it really makes things convenient. And what's nice about Happy Cow is that all the reviews are like people say whether they're vegetarian or vegan. So everybody that's reviewing like has told you like who they are, like what they're looking for. They always have photos of the food and everything. Like you get really honest reviews. And it's just cool. It's like it's like a guide map for anybody wherever you are in the world. Like I said, I was in Seoul, Korea using Happy Cow.
Right here, but I'm pretty sure you can just use the web version if you do have an iPhone, another Apple L. So lesson 41, Happy Cow is a game changer for finding vegan options around you. So there you have it, y'all.
Ooh.
Those are the lessons I wish I had known before going vegan. And now hopefully you can benefit from the mistakes that I made. If you want to see more content about getting plant-based protein in, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.